Xcel again chooses to cut off power to Coloradans in the cold.
We have weather. I'm like, it's snowing, it's raining, it's windy, it's cold.
A look at why Latino voters appear to be shifting to the right. A defining vote tonight that could determine Denver's future skyline. And a school board race that's not getting much attention holds a lot of power over charter schools across Colorado. That's tonight on Next.
Fall in Colorado, yellow aspen, chunky sweaters, pumpkin spice, Xcel energy, leaving people in the cold to replace equipment. Folks in Idaho Springs woke up today to snow, below freezing wind chills, then a power shutoff. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
Getting the fire going is so last Friday.
And you just lightly, over and over again, it heats up the coal bed there.
A toasty fire is still needed today in Alice, near St. Mary's Glacier, just outside of Idaho Springs, because outside, the cold slaps you in the face like a beard in the wind.
This morning when I checked my phone, it was 25 degrees out, and that was about 20-30 minutes before they cut the power off on us.
Xcel warned Daniel Lutz that his power would get shut off this morning for 6 hours after a night of snow and cold, on a day of cold and wind.
We thought it was going to be in the 40s, which we wouldn't have had a problem if we'd been in the 40s, but we're in the 20s and we're below freezing, and that's rough.
Xcel replaced a wood power pole today, installing a taller fiberglass pole to strengthen the grid and reduce wildfire risk. About 400 customers were warned of a power outage lasting until 3 p.m., which changed throughout the morning.
We got notification that it would be on at 9:45.
And then an 11:15 restoration. And then a 5:15 restoration.
It's dark in here.
Wren had the same power outage a couple of miles away, leading to a unique breakfast.
Yeah, I put the can in the fire this morning and, you open it up to make it air and then you don't burn yourself. But yeah, you do that and you make yourself a cowboy breakfast.
She got the warning over the weekend that her power would be off this morning.
And I wrote it down when I got home from church yesterday. So 9 a.m. to 3, Xcel was off. We have weather. I'm like, it's snowing, it's raining, it's windy, it's cold.
That power that was supposed to be back on by 9:45, 11:15, 3 p.m., or 5:15.
My fan is on now. My lights are on now.
It came back on a little after 1 p.m.
So we're getting a lot of confusing messages and information, and that's probably the most frustrating thing, is trying to figure out how we can work around this, work around the cold temperatures without knowing exactly how long we're going to have to do it.
Corey Reppenhagen has met his match, perhaps. This story and my story on Friday about Xcel shutting off the power to United Power customers to replace equipment, these stories are not about Xcel replacing equipment. These stories are about the timing. Xcel tells me it had 3,500 planned outages since January, with 99% of the work done on time and within the time frame notified to customers. But again, Kyle, it's about timing.
Yeah, and I think it's especially tough when it's like the first couple cold nights of the year, right? Because people don't always have their houses properly winterized, like they're not quite ready for it, that kind of thing, and it's a shock to the system.
Sure. Here, it was the snow that even the two that I talked to didn't expect the snow. Mm-hmm. On Friday, when we were talking about the weekend outage, it was because it was going to be cold in Cold Creek Canyon. Again, like, if you just wait a few days, could you still do the same work and not I don't know. These are decisions for experts that are in the field. I'm just the person who reports on that.
Sure, sure. Also, his beard's majestic, majestic. Marshall, thank you. First step toward a drastic change to Denver's skyline is a city council vote tonight. The council is considering a redevelopment plan for the area around Ball Arena. This has been in the works for years. Public hearings underway right now for a new 70-acre urban district on what is mostly parking lot space. The project would include office buildings, retail space, thousands of units of housing, parks, bike lanes. City Council wants Kroenke Sports and Entertainment to guarantee that 18% of the housing there will be affordable housing. In return, Kroenke wants permission to build higher than what is currently allowed. There are restrictions that were put in place years ago, decades ago, to preserve the mountain views from central downtown. If the new zoning for this project is approved, the city would still restrict the overall size of buildings in the new neighborhood around Ball Arena. There would not be a maximum height on the new buildings, but those taller buildings, they'd be required to be skinnier and more spaced out than elsewhere in downtown. After years of record-high evictions in Denver and elsewhere around Colorado, the state Supreme Court says tenants have been getting a raw deal. Today, the justices ruled that county courts are often wrong to deny tenants a jury trial in their eviction case. The court's ruling says that every eviction does not need a jury trial and that sending tens of thousands of eviction cases to county courts would overwhelm the system. But the court says that eviction proceedings that hinge on a factual dispute instead of something like unpaid rent, those are eligible to go to a jury. This is the latest expansion of tenants' rights in Colorado. Earlier this year, Democrats in the state legislature passed a law codifying for-cause evictions. That just means that landlords can't evict a tenant or refuse to renew a lease without offering a specific reason. We don't talk a ton about the state school board, but it has power over charter schools in particular. And the race for state school board in Colorado's most competitive district could determine how friendly all of Colorado is to charter schools in the coming years. The state school board's 8th district mirrors Colorado's 8th congressional district, so we're talking about suburbs of Adams County up to Weld County. The incumbent, Democrat Rhonda Solis, is facing a challenge from Republican Yasmin Navarro. Solis, who's a community activist, former Greeley School Board member, she's part of a minority of charter school skeptics on the state school board, which has the power to override local control and revoke or approve charter school authorizations. Solis insists that she's not anti-charter, she just says she wants to ensure they're being transparent and effective.
I think the charter conversation feels differently depending on what part of Colorado you live in. And so I think it's just a good time for us to kind of take a pulse about how it feels in different communities and what their thoughts are. And is there anything that should be changed? Maybe nothing changes. Are there guardrails that should be put in place? Should it just keep going as is?
Solis opposes this year's statewide constitutional amendment. It's the one that you'll vote on that would protect charter and private school choice in the state constitution. Solis says she's worried it would take funding away from vulnerable rural schools in her district. Her Republican challenger, Yasmin Navarro, supports the school choice amendment. She's a former educator who lost a race for the Thompson School District Board last year. Navarro's campaign is focusing on parental rights, kind of a cultural flashpoint for fellow conservatives lately. And she said that expanding school choice for families is one aspect of that.
If I, as a parent, see that where my child is attending is not working out, then I need to have that choice to move my child to another school. To me, it falls under parental rights, that you have the right as a parent to do what you need to do to make sure that your child is in a thriving academic area.
Navarro recently told the Colorado Sun that as long as charter schools are effectively educating students, they will have her support. So I'm back here on a Monday to brag again about your generosity in our community, because over the weekend, your Word of Thanks microgiving passed the $13.5 million mark. Your latest project in 5 years worth of them was raising money for Whale Respite Center. That nonprofit provides caregivers in Weld County an opportunity to rest and recharge while their children with disabilities and delays get exceptional care. Between last week's donations and that nonprofit's share of your monthly Word of Thanks Fund gifts, you raised more than $20,000 to support their work. If you know of an impactful nonprofit anywhere in the state that could use our help, email next@9news.com, or you can also text NEXT 303-871-1491. The mountains of southwest Colorado are getting buckets of snow, while Denver remains stuck in an unusually warm fall.
We all miss our families. We all want to work hard when we're out there and trying to help other folks, and we want to just get home safely to our families.
Colorado's search and rescue specialists return home after weeks of work on the hurricane-hit southeast. That's next. Search and rescue teams from Colorado came home today after spending more than 3 weeks in the southeast. Members of the specialized search and rescue team called Colorado Task Force 1 first deployed to North Carolina 3 weeks ago. They were in an area hit by Hurricane Helene. Just a few days later, even more of their team took the little equipment that wasn't already being used, and they went to Florida to help in the wake of Hurricane Milton. All of them got a hero's homecoming in Lakewood today, where they stowed their equipment for the next call, then reunited with family and friends.
Right now, I'm feeling pride, really feeling pride to work with all these people. We've got a great group of people that work year-round to be prepared just to go on this deployment.
The members of Colorado Task Force 1 come from 23 different fire rescue companies in the state. They've been serving since 1991. So Mountain's got a nice blanket of snow over the weekend. First big snowfall of the season. Made for a slick morning along I-70 today. CDOT had the plows out and give you a look at what it looked like up at A Basin this morning. With so much fresh snow, the ski areas are moving up opening dates. Vale and Copper got about 10 inches overnight, and Wolf Creek says it is going to be good to go. They always get a dumping of early season snow down there in Wolf Creek. They're going to open tomorrow. No snow, of course, in the metro area, but kind of a weird start to the day in South Aurora, where people woke up to a thunderstorm and hail at about 5 o'clock. Metro area has been blanketed by unseasonably warm weather for a lot of this fall. Denver's off to the hottest start for a fall season on record, and it is not particularly close. Average temperature for this fall has been nearly 67 degrees, more than 7 degrees warmer than our average fall temperatures. Meteorologist Kathy Sabin, what cool down comes next week?
That's right. This morning, it was all about spring-like weather with hail, thunder, lightning, and rain to wake you up at about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. That storm system is moving out. We have a relatively calm pattern, but some indications that the longer range pattern for next week could hold our first freeze and maybe some beneficial moisture in the form of snow. So Denver did not see snow today, but this is the storm winding its way into Nebraska and Kansas, setting off a line of severe weather tonight with hail from Omaha to Kansas City. There are severe thunderstorm watch areas for large hail from Hays to North Platte and advisories for wind in southeastern Wyoming. Winds have been pretty gusty on the backside of a storm that brought 11 inches of snow to Copper Mountain, 10 to Loveland, 7.5 to Breck, 7 in Winter Park, 8 to A Basin. And the temperatures have cooled back. Our high today 68. We're down to 63 now, 30s and 40s in the mountains this hour. And that wind is just howling over Dumont, Loveland Pass, up around Buckeye and up into Cheyenne. So those winds will start to ease as we move through the evening and our morning storm tracks east. Everybody wants more mountain snow. Mother Nature lending a helping hand with that snow that came in with the storm today. But things are going to dry out and calm down tonight and tomorrow with a cooler temperature trend. We do have sunshine and above average highs expected for Tuesday and Wednesday. Colorado Avalanche play right here on 9 News on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. Friday slightly cooler, and then a wonderful weekend for football, college, and for the Broncos, who take the field at 2:05, I believe, on Sunday afternoon. We've got sunshine and 75 degrees. Monday's high at 73, but again, some indications the middle part of next week could be cold, and maybe we'll see some snow.
Republicans see Donald Trump making real gains with Latino voters. We'll look at why next. Former President Donald Trump is making gains with Latino voters despite years of anti-immigrant rhetoric. Colorado's expected to be solidly blue this November, but it is worth watching how Latino voters in our state split. Angeline McCall has that.
When Latinos head to vote, this time, polls suggest more will vote a different way this year than they have in the past.
So Latino vote nationally has shifted a little bit.
Robert Preuss is a professor at MSU Denver. He says 10 years ago, about 70% of Latinos voted Democratic. New data suggests that number could fall to the low 50s this election, with Latinos citing 2 reasons.
You know, there is this kind of discontent about the economy. Inflation has been subsiding, but prices are still really high. What we're seeing right now is essentially voters placing blame on the current administration and looking for someone else.
The other reason? Immigration.
The Biden administration has gone back and forth a little bit in terms of both being seen as too open and having a border that's too porous, but also really not as much movement on things that are important, like path to citizenship for DACA recipients, for instance. So there's conflicting cues from the Democratic Party.
The people who talk to voters hear immigration as a top concern among Latinos.
Hispanics that have come into America legally and have actually become Americans, they are the ones that are most against illegal immigration.
Raymond Garcia is the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. He believes some Latinos will vote Republican this year for the first time.
They've been told all their lives they should be Democrat, but when we actually talk to them and they realize the Democrat Party does not align with their beliefs, and the Republican Party absolutely aligns with their beliefs, overwhelmingly, they will switch over.
The switch we may see in November, driven by economy and immigration.
That's what they want to get back to. Higher wages, lower prices, more employment, a better way of life.
Professor Price says he's heard consistent concerns from Latino voters and Latino advocacy organizations. They say neither party really spends time mobilizing and focusing on Latino voters in between elections to actually build support that in many cases may feel like candidates promising something during election season, but not actually delivering at all when in office.
Yeah, it seems, Angeline, that even in the presidential race, the focus, the shift of attention to Latino voters has really only come like in the last week or two, right? You have both Trump and Kamala Harris doing events on Spanish language TV. Now you see an ad blitz into Nevada and Arizona with heavy Latino populations, but that has not been a feature of the full campaign.
No, but we do know that Latinos are the second largest demographic of voters. And so, each party wants to mobilize them and, make sure that they turn out to vote for their party and for their ticket, right?
All right. Angeline McCall, thank you so much. Hey, I would invite any of you to join me tomorrow night in person for a conversation that we are having at the University of Denver. I'll be speaking at DU's Newman Center about a frequent topic here on this program. What happens when we can't agree on the facts? When it seems sometimes that increasing numbers of Coloradans are not even interested in knowing what is or is not the truth. The event tomorrow night is free and open to the public at DU, but you do need to RSVP. I'll be talking tomorrow with DU Chancellor Jeremy Hafner on this topic, media and democracy. What happens when we can't agree on the facts? We'll talk about what journalists, academia, and the public can do to encourage fact-based dialogue at a polarized time. Again, you're welcome to join us tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on the DU campus. The link to RSVP for free is on the next section of 9news.com. I couldn't spit that out. Marilyn had to stop walking and then go back and forth because you're like, oh, he can't say it. He can't spit it out. We have feedback next. RSVP for free. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a reminder to saddle up and vote anytime. Next viewer named Sandy snapped this photo at a ballot drop box location in Grand County over the weekend. Looks like some folks rode to the polls. Reminder, early voting is on. Ballot drop boxes are open. Get out and vote that big, thick ballot. And if you see something that looks like Colorado to you, send it to us. Email next@9news.com or text next 303-871-1491. Boy, folks are not having the complaints about XL shutting off power on a cold morning up in Idaho Springs. Bill says, people, your power is off for 4 hours. Man up. Not Colorado tough at all. Michael says maybe the mountain folks would prefer a forest fire instead of Excel upgrading equipment. There are only so many days in a year to get it done, Michael says. Time to give them a bit of a break. And Cindy says when you live in the mountains, you have to plan for the inevitable power outage, planned or unplanned, in whatever weather. Nice note from Robert in Littleton, who says that he moved here 3 years ago from Memphis, Tennessee. And Robert says there is so much charity here, like your word of thanks causes. He says, I enjoy the ever-present goodness that to me overwhelms the problems of Denver. Sometimes it's nice to get an outside perspective like that. Welcome, Robert. I hope that you love life in Littleton. We'll see you next time.